Welcome to our third webinar, Digital Publishing with QuarkXPress 2018, eBooks Part 2. What we will show today is how you can add interactivity to a reflow ebook and how you can add interactivity to your fixed layout ePub. We'll also show you how to add metadata, how to create hyperlinks and a table of content for your ebook, and then export that as ePub and show you how the export for Kindle will differ. And in the end, we're going to talk about some post-processing tools and what they are and when you should need them or when you should use them to optimize your ebook. Let's start with interactivity. So unfortunately with ebooks, we first have to differentiate again between reflow and fixed layout ebooks. Remember, that's something that we talked about in length in the first part of the ebook webinar. And the good thing is that in ebooks, you can use all interactivity when you export as fixed layout. It creates an ePub 3, version 3, and if you use a good reader like Apple's iBook or the Medium 2 that we talked about, then probably all of that interactivity will display as you know it from native apps or from HTML5 publications. The potential issues are more if you want to export something to a black and white Kindle, or if you don't find that reader, that reading software that can display all that stuff. And that can be an issue, especially when you export for readers on Android or on Windows. Hopefully in a few months we won't talk about that anymore once the Medium is out there, or maybe Microsoft Edge has a better fixed layout reader. When you export as reflow, then restrict yourself to audio, video and hyperlinks, which are for text-savvy ebooks probably the typical things you'd use anyhow. And the good thing is probably you won't encounter any issues. It will play everywhere except maybe on very, very weak devices or devices not suited for displaying video or playing audio, which could be the black and white Kindle devices, that they're not playing audio because maybe they don't have a loudspeaker or don't display video because the screen isn't fast enough itself. But typically you shouldn't have any issues when you go to reflow. So that's definitely something to consider. And before I'll show you how to do it, let's briefly talk about how you apply interactivity. It's actually quite easy. You create your digital layout like we've seen in the first part of the webinar from scratch, or just convert a print layout to a digital layout. Then you open the HTML5 palette and apply the interactivity that you need, and you can export the ebook and test it. You're done. It's really easy to do that. Let's have a look. So I'm going to use the same layout that we've seen in the first part of our webinar, this print brochure, and I'm going to create a fixed layout ePub first. That's easy by just duplicating. Well, actually, I'm not creating any format yet. I'm just creating the digital layout. I'm going to take the values that QuarkXPress has pre-populated in here. And here's my digital layout that I can now export as anything, right? As a native app, as a reflow ebook, as a fixed layout ePub, or an HTML5 publication. To show you how to apply animations or slideshows, any kind of interactivity, I'm first going to do a fixed layout ePub. And to preview that, I don't want to use any kind of ePub viewer. I'm going to click down here on the Preview HTML5 Publication button. It's going to show me my content in the web browser, but that's fine because the content between all of these formats, so native app or HTML5 publication or ePub, fixed layout ePub, is exactly the same. It's all HTML5. Just the reader, of course, might display that differently. So what I'm going to do here is on the second page, I want this headline here, which is all text, to appear, right? So an animation, and maybe the other headline here too. So let's try that. Let's go back to QuarkXPress, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to page 2, and first let's open the HTML5 palette. This palette controls all my interactivity. For that, I'm selecting my box, proven capability, and I'm choosing animation. I could give it a name for this webinar just to save some time. I'm not going to do that. You should, because otherwise you don't know what animation 573 is doing, right? So name it. So duration 5 seconds. It's going to fly in, say, from the top, just drop down. And I don't want this to be linear. I want this to ease out so that it doesn't stop so abrupt. So let's have a look how this looks like. I can click on the HTML5 publication preview button. I can also use the little flyout here, and let's have just a look at this page. Might be a bit quicker when you have larger publications. And you can see proven capability just comes in, right? I can still select it. Well, why did it jump away? You can see it's live text. It's because I allowed this here in my QuarkXPress layout to have interaction, meaning the user, my reader, can actually click on that and then it will start again. So I don't want that, so I'll take that away. So that's how you apply interactivity, and it's really that easy, all of the things that we do. So let's have a second headline here. This headline here, I want this to be an animation, and here we don't want a movement. Maybe we would just want to fade this in. Say fade in over 5 seconds, linear will be fine. Yeah, let's do it a bit slower. Let's do maybe 10 seconds here. 10 seconds. And let's preview the page, right, in the browser. There's the proven capability, and there is my headline slowly fading in over 10 seconds. Why do I see both pages? Well, because I'm using spreads, so I'm going to see the left and the right page here. Of course, if I don't want spreads, I could do that, right? Just see one. Okay, so that's a basic form of interactivity for my ePub. Let's do something else. Let's maybe on the last page here, let's get rid of the big thank you kind of thing. Let's just do a slideshow. So let's create this box here. And what I want to do is I want to create a slideshow. So slideshow means that there can be several images in the same box and they will display after each other. Okay, so allow full screen. So if somebody double taps or double clicks on it, then I'll go into full screen. Interaction means somebody can manually advance the slideshow, slides, transitions, and all this kind of stuff. All good, but I don't have images yet. How do I load images? I just click on the little plus sign in the HTML5 publication, and I could either insert QuarkXPress layouts, so we'll almost show like a layout, like a PDF, but it's not, it's live QuarkXPress layouts, or I add slides from picture files, and that's what I'm going to do here. And what kind of pictures do I have? I have my Hamburg, I have my Peru, I have my river. They're all landscapes. I'm going to use these 3 here. They're quite small. That's okay because they are made for printing, so I don't need this for digital. So let's just make them a bit larger. Maybe that's a good size. I will scale, fit the box to the picture, and I want all other ones to fit that too, like this. And now I have my slideshow. Let's have a look how it looks like. So let's preview the page, and I'm not going to do anything else in my slideshow. So there is my first image. I can see I got 3 little buttons down here. I think I said 8 seconds until the next image will show, and you can see the image is actually sliding over. When I click on it, I get the full screen, fine. And if I click on the little button, I think, no, I don't get one, but I can use my finger or my mouse to actually look at different images. Well, nice. I don't like it so much. So what do? First, I don't want the indicator. I don't like it. Then interaction. Yeah, well, no, I don't want my reader to interact with my file here. Full screen is fine. Let's take it out. And maybe I'll use a flip over 2 seconds and 8 seconds slide duration. That might be all better. So let's preview the page again. Let's have a look how this will look like. There is my slideshow. No more buttons that I can click. I can also not do anything here with my mouse, but it flips. That's nice. I have to wait 8 seconds. But 8 seconds is quite long. I probably take 8 seconds to see what the image looks like. But, well, you know, I don't really know that it's a slideshow. Maybe I'll navigate away from my page. So let's have what else we can change. So maybe not flip, let's do fade. And what I want to do is I want to have an animated pan and zoom. So meaning my first image here maybe starts here and will stop there. So start, stop, kind of zooms in. My Peru, maybe I want to do differently, you know, so my start should be maybe the image in full size, and my stop is going to be kind of zoom into the little guy here. And my river start, maybe I'll do a bit different. I make this a bit larger, just take the stone here, and the stop, same thing. So like this, it's almost the same. And I'll just move this a bit and make it slightly smaller, like this. So hardly noticeable. Let's have a look like what these changes have done to my slideshow. There, you can see I have now an animated slideshow, and I'm not restricted to what the software has as pre-canned effects. I just created them myself using the mouse. Now, and I have a fade effect, which I think I like best for this kind of slideshow. And there is my zooming in. Okay, so I like that, you know, so that's good. So I have applied all of the interactivity that I wanted to have. Well, how do I export this now? I go to File, Export as, ePub, and I'm just going to export this as my print example as a fixed layout ebook. Okay, and I want to open my ebook after export. So let's do that. Export that. I had that before. I don't care about the images. Yes, fonts I want to embed. I don't care about the images in high-res because, of course, you know, I'm creating something as digital display, and I think it's good enough. Of course, if I want to zoom in, I use effects where I need to see the resolution. I should update them. So let's have a look. There, see the two headlines: proven capabilities coming in and use existing workflows and software you know is slowly fading in. So this opened in iBooks, Apple's ebook player. And yeah, here's my slideshow the way I defined it in my ebook. Okay, so that's nice. Let's do something else in this ebook. So let's add a video. So instead of this image here, I'll just kill it, the slideshow. I'm going to do my video player. Let's give it a frame. Then I can see where it is. And what I want to do here is I want to add a video by clicking here on the HTML5 palette button. Well, for videos, they can be quite large, right? So of course I can embed a video file. I'm not sure I want to do that. I want to reference a video, and I can do that by just going to a URL here, or typically I have my videos on YouTube. So let's go to YouTube. So here's the video that I want to reference in my QuarkXPress layout. It's the one about HTML5 publications. That's the key thing. I'm not going to take the URL that you can see up here in my browser. And what I need to do is I need to click on the share and then not go to share and get this URL or email. I need to go to embed and not take the whole selected area out here. Just look for this src for source and copy only the URL that's in between the quotation marks. So I'll copy that. I'll go back to QuarkXPress and I'll put that in here. To see whether that's working, I can click on the little magnifying glass here. And oh yeah, it's working. Good. Play it. Yes, seems to work. That's good. So let's go back to QuarkXPress and let's have a look whether this is working also in my digital publication by going to preview my page. Let's open that. Page is there. You can see you get the preview, you get the typical play button. I can play that, and yes, it's working. You know, so let's stop that before I talk. You have two of me talking here. But the nice thing is you now referenced a large video in your digital publication, for example, your ebook that we're going to export now to see what that's also working in there. And that's the best thing you can do. Videos are large. It doesn't matter, most people are online anyhow, so it doesn't matter when they're just referenced. It looks like they're embedded, but they're not. Of course, if somebody's offline in an airplane or underground somewhere, you know, your reader's not going to see that, but I think that's not a very typical scenario, so I would always reference them and not embed them, except for maybe for very, very small videos or when you know that your readers are often offline. Let's go back to QuarkXPress and see what options we have. So for this thing, I don't have a lot of options because it's coming from YouTube or Vimeo. If I had embedded it, of course, I could say I want a play button and this kind of stuff. So this should be enough for now. Last thing I want to show is export this as ePub. So I'm going to export this as print example 2 into my export folder, fixed layout ePub. I'm going to ignore that I don't have the high-res. Yes, I want to embed my fonts. Let's go. iBooks opens. There's my first page. Here's my second page with the 2 animations. Here's my third page. And this is where my video should be. And now you can see an issue with iBooks. It's not showing the video. Well, that's somehow unexpected, but that can happen when you have a reader that doesn't allow you to reference something externally. So maybe it's a bad idea here to reference the video. So let's do something else. Let's go to the Finder, and I'm going to open this ebook that I exported, fixed layout ebook, with Calibra. Calibra is a different viewer software, not from Apple. It's going to start here. It's going to add my book, and I can use that to also read my ePubs. Let's double click this, wait for the ebook viewer. And what you can see is I now have, let's enlarge this a bit, I now have my first page here. I'm going to load my second page. Okay, it doesn't show my animation. That's not good. Going to the third one. It's also not showing the hidden headline that I had. Let's go to the fourth page. And what you can see is it actually does show my video. So it's just a different ebook viewer, and this one behaves different than the one from Apple. It doesn't show typography as nicely as Apple's did, but it does show the video. I can play this. Flickers a bit. Stops the flickering. And you can hear me now, showing the other webinar. Stop this, otherwise I go crazy. But you can see that the ebook viewer from Calibra does show the video. So that's one of the big issues. Remember when we talked about interactivity in ebooks, that it's depending very much on the viewer software that your readers are using. And that's maybe why you shouldn't create fixed layout ePubs. Don't understand me wrong. I love them. I think that's the perfect format. It's an open standard. Everybody should support them. But that doesn't really help me when there is no good reader software available for fixed layout ePubs. So instead of doing fixed layout ePubs, what I'd rather do is I'd create an HTML5 publication, because that's something that everybody can read in all modern browsers and all platforms. Or I'd do a native app. If I go into ePub publishing for fixed layouts, then maybe I should just use basic interactivity, or maybe none. You know, or if I have no interactivity, I can create a PDF. So what's really the sweet spot for ePubs? And I think that's the reflow format. Let's talk about that again. So for that, the first thing I will do is I will actually open my articles palette. So a reflow ebook doesn't take any of the layout information that you have in QuarkXPress, but it takes structure. So for example, if I want to create, let's look for a nice article here, maybe the proven capability. I'm going to add my article and say, this is my article. I'm going to proven capability. It's going to be my the name of the article. And now I'm adding components. So I add this text component here. I'll add this text component here. I'll add my image, and I also add my quote in here. And now I have created this basically as an entity. This belongs together. And I can use the same thing with the next article. So let's maybe call this software, and I'll add this headline in here, and I add the image, and where's my text? Maybe this is my text here that I want to have in here. And now I want to view how this looks like. So let's export this as an ePub again into my export folder, but let's take the reflow instead. All right, so let's call this also reflow, export. Don't care about the images, not the high-res, right? Don't care about the high-res images. I can embed, and of course, only supported interactivity will be exported. So QuarkXPress already knows there is certain interactivity in here that we don't support, which is the animations in reflow, right? So let's open that. And this is interesting now. Look, the first page is a screenshot of my exported QuarkXPress layout. And the second page, this is where you get text of the elements that are selected. So the first article, and here's my second article, right? Using existing workflows, the picture, and then the text I selected. So this has exported everything, but of course it doesn't look as I've layouted it, which for a novel, or something that is text savvy doesn't really matter. And also my line breaks don't matter here if I make this larger or smaller or read that. Let's see how that looks like in Calibra. So if I go here for my reflow ePub and I say I'll open that in Calibra, then it's going to add, fine. Now, and I'm just going to double click this, wait for the ebook viewer. There's my first page. That's always a screenshot, so that doesn't really look different, but also it's not live text. And now I can see my line breaks are completely different, but I can read this, especially if I enlarge my font sizes. So that's the reflow stuff that actually adopts to the device, and I can read that, but it doesn't give me layout capabilities. And you can see, though this is text, my image always comes after my text and before this text. And where it's displaying, that's determined in my articles palette. So there's my first component, second component, then the image, and then the caption. So I added that in there to give it an order. And if I want the image at the end, I can just put this to the end also here, and then I'll have all images always at the end of the article. So that's the reflow stuff. Okay, so what if in reflow I want to add a video? I can do that. So let's just go to the last page and look at my video. Here again, referencing, as I said, this is a format, the reflow ePub is a format that's perfect for the black and white Kindles. But of course, referencing wouldn't work so well here. Let's have a look how this looks like. So let's just add this component in here, video, and export this file, export as ePub, and I'm going to call this reflow 2, export. Fine. Yes, I know. So let's have a look what Apple's iBook makes out of it. Ignores the embedded video again. Let's go to my Finder and let's go and open this with Calibra. Always going to tell me that I already have the same meta information. That's something we probably have to change in a second. Let's go here. Let's make this larger. First page, second page. The images are now at the end. And you can see, well, it's in there. No? So I just need to make this larger. But it's actually working here. It's showing me stuff. And this is, where now I probably have to revert my recommendation. For reflow, I think you should always embed your videos. So let's look for a small video that I have. So I have somewhere a small video here. You can hear it. It's playing. All right, so let's open this. I'm going to embed this into my file here. Before we're going to export this as ePub, let's first preview this as an HTML5 publication, my browser, only this page. There it is. You can see this custom play button. And once I play it, you can see my video starts playing and it's embedded in sound plays and all this kind of stuff. Okay, great. So let's go back to QuarkXPress. And this has or is still part of my software article. So let's export this as ePub, as reflow again in my export folder, and I'm going to export this as my reflow embedded video. And let's open it. Save it. Yes, I know. Good. So iBooks opens, and now you can see there's my first page. Let's go to the last page, and there's my video, and I can actually play it. So iBooks does display this now because it's embedded. Okay, but I think this is enough of experimenting with videos and audio and interactivity. As I said before, when you export, please test. I think ebook, ePub is the format that you need to test more than HTML5 publications or native apps. But let's go further and let's talk about metadata and hyperlinks. So metadata, hyperlinks, and table of content is the next thing that we want to talk about. So let's have a look at Calibra that you've seen before. I can see here there are several ebooks that I created, ePub made using QuarkXPress, author QuarkXPress, the date, there's some tags in here, and the publisher is also QuarkXPress. It also shows it here, right? Which is fine for testing, but of course, once you create your own ebook and you want to submit that, you don't want these tags in there. So let's talk about meta information. So what I do here in QuarkXPress is when I export is I actually need to go to layout metadata, and that's where I need to specify something. The reason why there's already meta information in there in the ebooks that we created is the ePub standard asks for metadata to be filled in. If you don't fill out anything, so QuarkXPress is going to put some defaults in there. So put something in and it's fine. So if the title is Webinar 3, the subject is showing ebook authoring, the author is me, the publisher is also me, copyright is none, ISBN is 0, what's my language, right, for this? This is just a test, and keywords are going to be QuarkXPress is great. So I have my keywords here. I say OK, and let's export this again as an ePub. Metadata, export, save, go through this again. Yes, fine. But that's not what I wanted to use. I wanted to go into Calibra. Let's add this. And now you can actually see title, Webinar 3, author is me, QuarkXPress is great, right? All my tags that I put in here. Publisher is me. So it actually took the meta information that I created. Table of content. Well, it's easy. We already created it. You didn't see that? Let's have a look at this ebook. Open it. And let's go to table of content here by clicking on the symbol, and you can see proven capability and software, right? So we created the table of content by creating this article structure. Same thing in iBooks. So when I go back to iBooks and I'm going to look at the table of content here, proven capability and software, same thing. So your article palette is actually creating your table of content, proven capability and software. So another reason why you should name these articles and not just leave them in. Last thing, hyperlinks. So let's just create a hyperlink by using the hyperlink palette. So proven capability maybe should jump somewhere, right? So capability, and I'll mark capability. I go to hyperlinks. And now when I go to hyperlinks, I can say, well, why don't you, if I click or tab on capability, I want to go to QuarkXPress.com, right? Okay, so this thing goes somewhere. And maybe on our consumers, I'm going to change something here. I want to type in here, please see video, tab to play. This thing should go to my last page, right? So I'm going to select this and say I want a hyperlink and I want to go to a certain page. Jump to page 4 and my page is page 4. So I've created two that do different things, two hyperlinks. Let's export that and let's have a look what that does. So ePub export, and I'll call that hyperlinks. Open that. Yes, fine. Okay, I know. Go there. Apple's iBooks opens. I can see that this actually is underlined. So if I click on that, well, there is the typical security warning of the ePub players, but you can see it will go to QuarkXPress.com. So if I say yes, that's fine, open, you can see it goes to QuarkXPress.com, right? Perfect. So my other one is here, please see video, tab to play. So when I tap that one or click on that one, it doesn't go to page 4. Well, that's disappointing. So why is that? Let's see what Calibra is doing with this. Hyperlinks. Open with Calibra. Fine. Open this. Ebook viewer is opening. And my first page doesn't have anything. All right, this is just a screenshot. Apple is always skipping that, so I can tap this video. And it also doesn't do anything. So how can I get there? How can I get to page 4? Well, that's easy. I'll just go back to QuarkXPress, and instead of going to jump to page 4, I will create an anchor. So I will do window, hyperlinks, I already have that open, and I say this thing is my video anchor, right? So go back to my page where I actually wanted to have that. Please see video to play, and I edit this, and I actually need to delete that. Delete, and I'll mark this, and I create a new hyperlink, and this time it is going to an anchor video. Go video. Okay, so if everything went right, export as ePub. No, sorry, that button, hyperlink into my export. Yes, export, do it. I can now press here, and it actually goes to page 4. Let's see what Calibra does with it. Hyperlink, open with Calibra. Yes, I know meta information should always be unique, right? That's why I get the warnings. Double click this, see what this does. There's my first page, second page, see video, tap to play. It also goes there. So great. So that's the way how to create internal hyperlinks or external hyperlinks. Almost done. Two more things that we want to talk about today: Kindle Export and post-processing. Let's talk about Kindle. Kindle Export is actually quite similar to export as ePub. You just go one menu further, export as Kindle, and to be able to do that, you first once need to download the free Kindle Gen utility from Amazon, right? So I'll click Get Kindle Gem, or my Safari is going to open, and I can see that I can agree to the terms here, and then I can download this for macOS and then install it. I've already done that, so let's go back to QuarkXPress, and I say locate Kindle Gen, and I'm just going to use Spotlight here, and my Kindle Gen is here. I'll say open. And of course, it's important here to say fixed or reflow. So there is a Kindle fixed layout, which is more for the colorful Kindles. Black and white Kindle, of course, is reflow. Let's do this. Save. Yes, do the same thing. It's exact same export mechanism that we use for ePub, except of course that Kindle Gen is going to be started, and now my Kindle app that's on my Mac is going to be started. You can see it here. So the Kindle player does the same thing that Apple does with iBooks. So the first page is typically not displayed. You can see that screenshot here. I can see my table of content that was also generated automatically. No, the same thing like before. And here I have my proven capability. And here I don't get a warning. I immediately go to quark.com. And here I can click to go to my anchor, and video not supported. You can see here that I have my video, but the black and white Kindle doesn't show the video. So that's how you export for Kindle. Very, very similar to ePub. Last thing, and I don't want to show too much with post-processing, because typically the export from QuarkXPress is fine. You don't need to change too much, but of course you can. It's all open standards that we export here. Especially the ePub is an open standard. Sometimes you need to do some post-processing though, so let's have a look. So one tool that is really powerful is Sigil. Let's open that. I'm not going to show you too much, but I'd like you to have a look at this application, because I think it's actually really handy. First, it's not an ePub viewer. It's going to give you control over what's inside the ePub. And ePub is basically HTML with typical HTML constructs and some XML. So you can see there's my cover, the cover page that we've seen in some of the exports. There's my navigation. You can see that's the table of content that we created. Here's the first article, the flow. And you can actually see that this is like a live preview, so I could click on that to go somewhere. But I can also replace and find something, do changes or whatever. Here's my second article with that video that's embedded. Also, I can see my style sheets. Let's open that. So there's my CSS that I can then edit, or my table of content CSS if I want to change that, maybe have different fonts in there and stuff like that. There's also the images here, my images for my articles, my cover image, the stock photo here that I had, the fonts that I embedded, if I have the license to embed that, that's something to look at. My embedded video is in here, and some other stuff, like some JavaScript or whatever. So this is really able to edit all of the stuff that you have in here. You can even add a headline, say, read more. Double click that, you say that's an H2, so headline 2, that's in here, and now I've changed my ePub, and I can also save that back. And I think Sigil probably is something that could be shown in its own webinar. So the last thing I want to show you briefly is a very powerful tool called ePubChecker. For this, we'll need the terminal. So the terminal is the command line of macOS. And of course, this will also work on Windows. Let's maybe make some bit larger fonts so that you can see this better. So what I have here is I have my terminal, and now I need a little Java application. So type in Java here, and it's on my desktop. Sorry, desktop. It's called ePubCheck. ePubCheck jar. So I'm basically typing in the path to that file, and now I want this to check this ePub here. So the easiest is I'll just drag this in so I get the name of the file into my terminal, and I just press return. It will take a while, and now you can see that it checked something. I think I need to make my font size a bit smaller, otherwise I can't read this. And what is happening here is it gave me some infos. That can't check some image details, because my Java version seems to be missing here and stuff like that. But there is no errors or warnings detected in my file. So this means that this is being validated by this ePub checker, that this is a valid 301 file. So I'm not going to go into more details on the ePub check. If you have questions about that tool, that's really powerful, come to our Facebook group or join us in our forums and ask the question there, and I'm happy to explain more about it. And that also brings us to the end of our webinar. What did we learn today? Well, first we saw a recap how to quickly convert print to digital. We saw that already last time in our first webinar about ePub. We learned how to add interactivity, and especially how interactivity differs between reflow and fixed layout ePubs. Then we learned how to add metadata and hyperlinks, and how a table of content is automatically created out of articles. And we saw how the export for Kindle differs, and we got a small glimpse on 2 post-processing tools, which are very powerful and something you should actually add to your tool portfolio. And maybe an important thing is when you do ePubs, ebooks, Kindles, test it. It's so important. Test it on typical devices that your readers, your clients will use before you distribute an ebook with advanced features. Of course, if you have only text or only layout, it's probably going to be okay. Still, testing is a good thing. And if you need a lot of interactivity in your publication, maybe it's better to use HTML5 publications or native apps. HTML5 publications have the advantage they play on all devices with a modern web browser, so Mac, Windows, Android, iOS, even other devices that have a modern browser, and they will show everything, so all interactivity, all text, all typography. Some additional resources, I'm going to paste them again into our into the comments of this YouTube video here, of the webinar that we recorded. And go there, please, if you want to find out more about ePubCheck and Sigil and Calibrate that we showed today. And of course, also get the 7-day trial version of QuarkXPress, which is functionally unrestricted. So for 7 days, you can try everything you saw today with QuarkXPress 2018. Thank you.